So here in week 8, we're becoming more philosophical, you might say. I don't know, or we're returning to a more broadly philosophical approach in the class. The last several weeks have been looking at particular issues and how AI is involved in them. This is a particular issue, the idea of personhood, the idea of artificial personhood, and the idea of an AI being a person or being treated as a person. I mean, the last few weeks of the class are going to be more speculative because weeks 9 and 10 we'll be talking about the singularity, which this is kind of a preparation week for the singularity discussion, maybe to give it a little more rigor. Uh, ChatGPT is not a person yet, I suppose. But that's the thing. What makes something a person? Um, Personhood is, of course, a legal concept, but it's also a philosophical one. What constitutes a person? I'm not really very well versed in the legal literature. I'm sure there's vast literature on what it means to be a person, a legal person. We're reading some of it. Philosophically, there are certain features that a being is thought to need to have in order to be a person. Self consciousness, the capacity to reason, and what follows from that is the capacity to take moral responsibility for what you do and say, which means you can be held morally responsible. So a person is, by definition, a moral person, I think. Um, those are the traditional criteria, or, close enough. There's no one set of criteria for what constitutes a person, but they'll all be pretty close to what I just said. Um, and so one can see that we're returning in a way to the things we were discussing at the start. And somebody like John Searle, the creator of the Chinese room thought experiment, would say that just there's no way that an AI can be a person because it has no consciousness. It doesn't realize the meanings of what it does. There's no intentional states. And he may be right about that. But if we take the Turing approach, when he asked, can machines think, or what would it mean for a machine to think? He took a totally behavioralist, it seemed to me, external view, and that we don't even know what it means for us to think. So instead of this fairly meaningless discussion of whether a computer could be conscious, let's look at what it can do, and if what it can do and say, if you want to say that it says anything, is indistinguishable from what a human being, who's definitely a person, can do and say, then why not call it a person? Or why not say that it's thinking? And I think that the Turing view has a lot going for it. It may be that if at a certain point, despite whatever reservations we may have about uh, a computer program or a computer, however you want to put it, having consciousness, being able to think in the way that we do, it may be that what they do is so indistinguishable from what we do, um, that we might as well call it a person because it is, for all intents and purposes, for all practical purposes, a person. That's what we're looking at this week. Is that that idea? What would it mean for, first of all, the basics? What does it mean? The basics really are in law. The idea of a legal person. Say a corporation can be treated as a person. We know that a corporation is not a human being, yet under the law it can be treated as a person. So there a long-standing, centuries old tradition of treating non-humans as persons under the law. It may be that that's the future of how we view AI as persons, not as human persons, but at least as fictive persons in a way, or persons that can be viewed under the law as persons at least. And then what ChatGPT is just the beginning, I think. I mean, unless it plateaus, levels out, who knows? There's no real progress. But I doubt that. I think it will move forward, if not immediately, at least at a certain point, so that what we may have is a artificial general intelligence or a general artificial intelligence. That is, an artificial intelligence that is as good at everything as we are. Of course, it'll be better at a lot of things too. That's the problem. And yes, this is kind of setting up uh, the discussion of the singularity in weeks 9 and 10. Singularity is a big idea, as we'll see, that is bigger than and predates the notion of an artificial intelligence. But more and more, it's come the emergence of a true artificial intelligence has come to be the focal point of what people talk about when they talk about the singularity. But that so this week is different from that, but it's definitely kind of preparatory for that discussion of the singularity.